This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Dover's Monster Mile lived up to its name with some incredibly fast speeds, making for absolutely wild racing. While Chicago will have more room to play with and a little less banking, this will probably prove to be another challenge. Without any true straights on the track, drivers have no time to rest. Will we get a sixth winner? We'll find out as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Outsider Racing League, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Tebbin. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Chicagoland Speedway has one of the most unusual tri-oval shapes of the Speedway boom. Let's head to our track guide to show you what we mean.
Welcome to Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois. Born out of the track boom of the 90s and early 2000s. Beginning racing in July 2001, not much has changed around Chicagoland, with the exception of lights being added in 2008. She still has the original surface around this 1.5-mile oval, making the track surface harsh from those Midwest winters. That means you really have to manage the tire wear over the course of a race. Chicagoland stands out from the other tracks created around its time period. Yes, it is 1.5 miles and D-shaped, but the shape of the track means it's never truly straight. When you come off the 18-degree bank turns 1 and 2 and onto the backstretch, the first thing you're going to notice is that it's curved. And when you roll into turn 3 and come off turn 4, it feels like you almost immediately dive into the tri-oval. It's an interesting drive for sure. And that interesting drive has produced some incredible races over the years, especially in IndyCar. The old Dallara IndyCar 0305 that you can find on iRacing was a particularly racing machine here, with 3 of the top 5 closest IndyCar finishes, including the closest, coming right here at Chicagoland. NASCAR has been here from the start though, with all 3 National Series making at least 1 trip a year here, and the Grand National cars making 2. ARCA has also been here from the beginning. A series that you may not associate with Chicagoland, USAC Silver Crown. Yes, the ones you can find here on iRacing made stops here in the mid-2000s. So with that, let's get ready to turn loose in the Windy City.
Well, with the Chicago Street Course now joining the fray, at least on the service, we'll see if it shows up in real life here soon. Chicagoland Speedway looks like it might be left a little bit in the dust here, Joey, but it still is here on the service to be raced with these next-gen cars. How are we expecting this to work with them?
Well, as I say every week, it's the next-gen cars, and it's a little bit difficult to predict, but here you see that odd tri-oval shape. Like you mentioned, that back straight is curved, so there's no real straights. We call it a back straight, but it is not straight. You're turning basically all the time, so that's a very interesting dynamic of the Chicagoland Speedway. Plus, the apron on the front straight, always very well used, and we're hearing from the drivers that tire wear is going to be a very, very minuscule factor. The tires aren't wearing very much, so this honestly might race more like Daytona or Talladega than what we're usually used to at Chicagoland.
So we might feel a bit like Dover all over again because that was frighteningly quick around there. Now, let's take a look at the championship, though, real quick, because up at the top of it, Chad Klinger, who's one of our 5 winners, rather, is only 10 points ahead of Zach Halpern. But here's the interesting thing. He's the only winner in these top 5 that you see. The next one down is all the way in 8th. That's Bryce Calusa currently. Halpern, Massey, Laughter, and Lakatos round out the top 5 of the drivers' standings. But with the wins being shared evenly, we're expecting it to stay relatively close through the field. What about today's race details here, Joey? What's this going to look like?
It's going to look pretty familiar if you've watched the Outsider Racing League before. We're almost halfway through the season now. Fixed setup as always, no spare car as always. This week we've got 5 tire sets. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to use all of them. I'm not sure if they'll need to use all of them. We've got 130 laps to run today. Lap 65 will be when halfway points are given out, but there won't be a caution for that, so that'll be another piece of strategy to fight over. And you can't see it on your screen, but this is another Dash for Cash race. So the top 5 from the last race will be eligible for a $50 bonus in addition to the $10 that's going to go out to the winner no matter who it is.
And that extra incentive is always that little carrot dangled in front of everybody and could create some havoc throughout the race. Let's hope not too much. Love to have plenty of green flag racing here today. We're in the last bits of the practice session, 5 more minutes before they head off to qualifying, where they get 2 laps to try and set their quick one. How is that apron going to be here? Because I know some tracks it can be a little jostling getting back up onto the embankment if you try and run across there. Is that the case today, or is it pretty safe?
Well, it always is jostling, and with the kind of unpredictability of these cars, it might be a little bit dangerous going down there, especially early in a run, kind of similar to the apron at Phoenix. We saw people losing control down there, but it's simply faster to go all the way down there, get down to that yellow line, and take the shortest distance possible. So we'll probably see a lot of drivers going down there, especially with tire wear as low as it is. They're not going to be worrying about scrubbing their tires. I think they'll be using that quite a bit.
Indeed, and you can see right now Jeremy Miller is our quickest in the warm-up, but Mitchell Welker apparently on a good day of racing today, not necessarily in stock cars though. He's won over in a Formula One car in the iRacing Grand Prix series. So 16 is a mere 8 thousandths behind Jeremy Miller. We'll see if he can keep that up both in the qualifying and then in the race itself. It always impresses me, Joey, when we see these drivers that can hop to such different disciplines here on the iRacing surface and find success in both of them.
Yeah, it's almost infuriating. I've raced in a couple leagues. Mitch Welker is actually my teammate in a couple leagues, so whenever he jumps in a Cup car or a next-gen car or an Indy car or an F1 car or a sports car, I could go on, and somehow he finds a way to drive them all fast. So it's kind of mind-boggling, but there's people who are just good at this kind of thing, and he's usually one of them. He's had some terrible luck so far this season, so he is on a high today after winning that race at COTA, so maybe this will be a double good day for him. It's for the amount of times we reference F1 in this series, this is probably the least like an F1 race you'll ever get. There's going to be very little lifting, very little braking, unlike COTA, where there's a lot of heavy braking, a lot of tight corners, so clearly something's working out, but they're not so similar.
Well, that begs the question then, because it's not as steep as, a place like Daytona or Talladega. So if you qualify in the back, if you don't have a good qualifying, is it going to be as easy to try and climb your way up through the field, or with the slightly shallower banking, will it be a bit tougher to try and make something stick?
Well, judging by what I'm seeing here in practice, I'm seeing packs forming of 6 or 8 cars, and it is looking like passing is a little bit more difficult than it would be at some other tracks, especially on the outside. You can get to the outside, but it's hard to get that momentum if you're not just all the way down on the right quarter panel of the car underneath. And if tire wear is not going to be a thing, really, I think it might be harder than some of the previous intermediate tracks we've gone to pass.
Yeah, especially since I wonder, are they going to find any speed as well? There's the wear and then there's the speed of the tire. They're certainly having fun here in this practice session, and it all unfortunately comes to a sorry end there on the front stretch with only Lakatos able to get away from that little wreck. We're so used to seeing drivers with their limited tire sets trying to save them for the right time in the cautions if we get them. I can't imagine it's going to pay many dividends to try and duck in and see if you can charge your way through the field. Everybody's going to just be looking for track position.
Absolutely, and it's very different from the last 2 weeks. We saw that tire strategy play out at Phoenix, where we had that long green flag run. We saw a little bit of tire strategy last week as well at Dover, but it's going to be a very different dynamic this week. It's going to be about holding on to that track position, and with everybody as stuck together as they are, I think it might be a little bit about self-preservation and surviving some of the incidents as well.
Indeed. Well, and as we mentioned earlier, that there are stage points that are given out halfway through. So lap 65 here today is where they're giving those away. They're not the end-all be-all, but 10 points to the leader at that halfway mark, and they're not going to throw the caution for it. Could be valuable in this championship, considering it's only 10 points separating them right now up at the top of the field. 21 cars here, so slightly smaller than some of them that we've seen, but still a decent amount to give us a pretty good race. As we see just one car left on the track, which is going to be removed because we are off into the qualifying session. I'm going to take a wild stab at things, Joey, and guess that it is the second lap that is going to be the banker.
Definitely. That's usually how it is at a lot of tracks, and especially at this place when the tires aren't going to be wearing at all on that first lap. You're going to want a lot of time to warm up the tires, and honestly, I wonder, will some of the drivers do what you might do at a restricted play track or in an Indy car at a lot of tracks and run that high line on your first time lap and then bring it back down to run the optimal line in the second lap?
Well, Klinger's already out there in the 09. We're on board with him right now. Let's watch and see what he decides to do. It looks like he is kind of riding a bit up higher here, not completely up against the wall, but about a lane down. Now he cuts across the bottom of the tri-oval to start his first flyer. Let's stick with this. Let's see what he does in turns 1 and 2 on this first lap. Yep, high line, you called it.
The high line in 3 and 4 can be useful on an optimal lap, but the high line in 1 and 2, not where you want to be in your first lap. So Chad Klinger definitely doing that deliberately, and up in 3 and 4, he's running a higher line, but he's running an even higher line than he normally would. You can see that black streak down there. You'll probably see him going down there on the second lap, and he almost gets a wheel in the grass. That's as low as you want to go. You don't want to clip that grass. You don't want to get loose, but you do want to go probably over that yellow line.
So he's already been beat by Ben Lafter, but as we said, we're pretty certain this is going to be all down to that second lap, and I'm double checking. Yeah, Lafter was running the low line through those, so he might find himself beat on the second time around. Nolan Hodgson goes quicker than Ben Lafter, and Ben has admitted as much that he wouldn't consider the oval side as experienced for him as he comes around for his second lap, and Lafter puts down a 31.2, so a little bit quicker, but Mitch Welker up onto the top spot, and Chad Klinger just behind him, or just next to him, will make that car while, and now Bailey Turner, they are just plummeting into that front row spot.
And those three we just saw, Turner, Carwile, Klinger, those are the three of the Dash for Cash drivers, rather. Massey's also there. Cabot was the fifth. He's not around tonight, so it's going to be a four-way fight for that, but it's very interesting to see three of them just stuck together on those first 3 rows.
Eric Hutton on his second lap, just hugging the bottom line all the way down to the white line here through 3 and 4. Drifts out and then back to the bottom through the tri-oval. Let's see what this one is. 31.073, only 100th quicker than his previous lap, and that'll be good enough for 8th. I see a couple cars still on their second runner. Josh Banks. Ray Massey goes up to 3rd, so that was a great one from the 23 as well.
And these gaps are just absolutely minuscule. The pole sitter, 31.017, behind him. You can see there's a lot of zeros. But Joshua Banks, speak of the devil, he just destroyed that first place time.
Josh Banks has managed to put 200s between himself and Mitch Welker. As you were saying, yeah, it's thousands between most of the drivers, but the 36 is looking good today. And I see Eddie Trejo popping his car onto the pit lane. I'm not sure if he'll get out there. I think he has enough time to just get his laps in, but only if he starts now. And yeah, no, he's missing out, so he's not going to be able to get his second lap on at this stage.
Well, Eddie showed up quite late in practice. He showed up with like 30 seconds left, so he didn't get any practice in. I assume he got practice in later in the week because this happened at Dover as well. He showed up very, very late, and at Phoenix too. So clearly he does some practice earlier in the week because he's always prepared, and honestly, he always survives until the end, if I remember correctly. So he's not going to qualify. He's going to hang out at the back, and hopefully he can avoid some carnage if there is some on the first couple laps.
Okay, then. So means our grid is now set, and even with the seconds that we have left on the clock, that is not changing. Let's go through that starting grid here for round 6 of the Outsider Racing League. And as we mentioned, Josh Banks has the pole over Mitch Welker. It is Zach Halpern who will start on the inside of row 2, and Ray Massey will be 4th. And it's Bailey Turner starting P5. You've got Ryan Carwile in the 6th position, and Chad Klinger starting 7th. Row 4's outside will be Nolan Hodgson. Then it's Brad Allison in 9th and Eric Hutton rounding out the top 10.
Then 11th, it's someone who we haven't seen all season, Will Cloud, making his first start alongside Jeremy Miller, who was top in practice, fell down a bit in qualifying. Then it's an all AAIR, 7th row, Evan Adams, Mike Hurley, then Zachary Thornton, and unfortunately Ben Lafter all the way down to the back of those who qualified. And then Casey Lakatos, all on his lonesome. His teammate Finian Kuhn is not here tonight. Joseph Causey, 18th. Eddie Trejo, Matthew Close, and good old Clifton Cockrell will round out the field there in 21st.
Now they start to line up on the grid. So they'll get a single pace lap, and then they'll be released 430 of these things. And 21 cars should give us lots of fun to watch out here. Now, as for the temperatures, middle of the day here in the Midwest, and it's 82 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. Thankfully, not as muggy as it typically is out here in the Midwest, though only 43% humidity and just a little wind blowing in from the west.
It's pretty good track conditions. It's optimal for these tires that aren't wearing a lot, but I think we'd get even hotter and even humider and even a little bit windier, and they'd still be tough as nails. So it's not the toughest conditions these drivers will ever face, but the close quarters of this racing will probably be a lot more worrying to them than the weather is.
I think I can agree on that. So the next gen cars just about all out there. Lakatos, Trejo, the last two that we're waiting on to put themselves onto the grid, and they're farther down in the field. Make that Lakatos now the last one that needs to enter the setup that he'd like and get on his way. Looks like he's there, so pace car will start to pull away, and we'll watch to see who gets the good jump off the start here today. We were talking earlier about the track position. How important is that going to be? Is it going to be extremely tough to try and go around the outside? Can you build the momentum? Will anybody dare maybe try and go all the way to Talladega style and bump draft around here?
Well, honestly, you might have to. In practice, it looked like kind of tandeming up and pushing the driver in front of you was one of the only ways you could make a pass. So they're definitely going to be getting close to each other. It might be worrying if you get the bumper to someone in a corner and get them all wiggly in front of the pack, but they're gonna have to try some unorthodox things with this kind of untested package. So we'll see if they dare to try that.
Absolutely. So $10 to the winner here today who wants to get themselves a value meal over at McDonald's for the race here today. And as the pace car comes through 3 and 4, getting ready to release Josh Banks. Will we get a first repeat winner here in the season? Pace car getting ready to release them. And there he goes. Mitchell Welker on the outside of Joshua Banks, and the green flag comes quick today. They're going to be pretty even off the line. Josh Banks not getting the biggest of jumps over Mitchell Welker. They start to pick up speed, and then the foot is going to be flat to the floor for hopefully quite some time here in this race. On to the backstretch, 16 already falling back a little bit. Looks like that bottom line is the desired one, and I am seeing some tandems hooking up.
Top the 23 of Ray Massey and Mitch Welker trying to work together, but it's not working as Banks and who is that behind him? That's Halpern. They kind of swerved up with each other. But Joshua Banks, all on his lonesome somehow, he's pulled about 3 car lengths ahead of the next place car.
We go 3 wide pretty quickly. The 26 stuck in the middle, Zach Halpern, with that is Welker on the high side, and the 16, the 09 down on the bottom, Chad Klinger. And unfortunately, this is starting to clog up the track a little bit. Everybody behind's got no place to go.
Clog is a very good word for it. Ray Massey had to back all the way out of it, not to send it 4 wide and destroy about 17 cars here. They're all over the place. They're all over the track, and nobody can get away from each other except those lead 2.
Oh, and we had a little bit of contact in the mid-pack. I think Carwell got a piece of that on the outside. Thankfully, he was able to say, we are going 4 wide back where he is. And the 84 dropping back, that's Will Cloud. I think maybe they're seeing the writing on the wall. Another little rub on Miller there. And thankfully, again, he gets away with it. Are we finally starting to sort out? Yeah, it looks like cars are getting mainly single file up at the front. That got sketchy for a moment.
And it didn't get sketchier for anybody than Jeremy Miller. He was 9th on the previous lap. Now he's 15th. He just got bullied on the outside. He got shoved out of the way twice, and unfortunately, he paid the price for some stuff that wasn't really his fault, but he'll have a lot of laps to make it up. Doesn't look like there's any damage on the number 30, so he should be good to fight his way forward, hopefully, but not the best first 4 laps for him.
Josh Banks still your leader there. Oh, but look at the run that the 24 has. Bailey Turner got a big shove, and he's going to try to go the long way around. Still has the momentum off of turn 2. He's going to be your first new leader of the night. He's going to pull Hutton along with him.
That full throttle on the 24 is clearly fuller than the throttle on Josh Banks' car, because that was incredible. He had that little bit of extra momentum. He got to the rear quarter panel, and he just sent it up to the front. So Bailey Turner, he's one of our Dash for Cash drivers, and he's gone from 5th to 1st, and Eric Hutton's gone from 10th to 2nd. So these two doing an incredible job to slice their way through the field.
So just like that, Josh Banks now down to 3rd, but he doesn't seem too worried about it. Seeing a little bit of chatter from Jeremy Miller, and we're understanding he has some damage on the car from his little contacts earlier. That's not going to be good with how much this track needs the cars to be very fast in a straight line. Well, a curved line.
Yeah, you really do need that car to be perfect and pristine, and Jeremy did just set the fastest lap here, but that's just by virtue of being all the way at the back of this train. He's not looking like he's too hurt, but he's definitely not going to have the full potential of that car after getting shoved out of the way twice. So he is still on the track, he is still surviving, and he's clearly still got some pace left in that car, but he's going to be struggling a little bit for a while until he can come into the pits and maybe fix that. Down
at the bottom, the 35 of Thornton was getting a good run as he made it 3 wide a few times. Then he got stopped as he hit the back of Ray Massey. Oh, and is Banks getting 2nd place back? Yes, he is. So the 36 is going to demote the 88. Now he sizes up the 24 in front of him. And I think the 26 also going to try and get ahead of Eric Hutton. They're in 3rd place. They're side by side through 3 and 4. I do wonder, maybe Eric Hutton a little bit too hot out of the box. Maybe he's heated up those tires a little bit too much, because he went from 10th to 2nd, and now he's falling back. He's stuck on the high line. There comes the 16. Massey's probably going to get by as well. So Hutton, unfortunately, looks like once you get on that high line, you might be getting shuffled out a little bit, but he is holding tough now. The 16 can't quite get by him on the back straight, and then through 3 and 4, the high line actually has a little bit of an advantage. And they're still stuck side by side, though. Yeah, and we saw glimpses of Miller trying to charge forward again. So I think he's not hurting too bad in that 30 as he's gotten himself back up into 10th spot. We're on board with him now, still racing against Thornton to the right-hand side, and seeing those Reese's is making me a little hungry.
It's a Reese's Cup car.
Well played, sir. Well played. And as he comes down through 3 and 4, they're behind a 2-wide situation, Noah's Ark style, between 5th down to about 9th. It looks like Klinger, Mitchell Welker in there. I see Will Cloud and Ray Massey.
It is interesting to see 30% of this top 10 is drivers who haven't started a race all season. Will Cloud, Zachary Thornton, and Eric Hutton. They're here for the first time in this 6th race of the season. So they're all showing themselves pretty well. They haven't raced around these drivers for quite a few weeks. So they're holding up here, and they're holding down the fort. Eric Hutton, the leader of them, in 3rd. Zach Thornton clips the grass a little bit as he tries to shove Will Cloud. It's getting dicey. It's getting very dicey, and Thornton's getting a little bit impatient.
Will saying, hey, you, get off of my Cloud. This 84 doesn't want to be turned around, especially at this point in the race. He is going to give him another little bump. And we are mostly single file from 1st down to 8th now. In fact, even farther back than that, they fan out through the tri-oval. A few of them getting runs. Maybe we'll see some passes start to develop, including from Josh Banks, who's going to look at the high side. Well, we formulated that the high side won't be very easy to pass on, but we've seen a few now, and the 36 doesn't complete it, but he's hanging tough.
These top 4, or top 5 now, top 6, as Klinger and Welker come into the picture. They've been stuck together here for a while. Bailey Turner gets a little bit of a gap up to the front, but this draft is just so strong that even though he gets 2/10, almost 4 car lengths ahead of the rest of the field, they just all swallow him up again instantly.
Now, we haven't mentioned yet that this main pack actually only goes back down to 15th, where Laughter is the tail of it. And then from there, things kind of peter out. Unfortunately, you can see just a couple little trios there behind them. Not sure if they're intentionally trying to get away from any potential problems or what, because it certainly looks like things could easily trigger a domino effect through the fields the way these guys are racing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to some of these drivers. Eddie Trejo, who didn't get any practice, he's the anchor at the back of the field, so it's understandable to see him back there. Clifton Cockrell didn't have the best start. He started all the way at the back of the field. And Evan Adams and Mike Hurley, I didn't expect them to fall back this far either. They had decent qualifyings. They weren't at the back, and they're both just kind of hanging out in their own worlds in 18th and 19th. So hopefully they've got something up their sleeve here, because not being in the draft at a track like this is not a place you want to be. But it's going to be a while until they can get some relief.
Klinger giving a very good bump to Banks, and with that, he is now definitively our leader. Behind there, things going 2 wide and maybe 3 wide for a moment. The 8 of Causey was thinking about it, then decided to lift. Everybody jockeying for position. If this is what we're in store for with the next-gen Cup cars, this is going to be an interesting season in NASCAR.
Yeah, what we're seeing here is, I think, kind of what they imagined when they cut back on horsepower. They wanted this IndyCar-style pack racing, and the drivers here are putting on a show. They were single file for a moment, and other than that, they've been just switching back and forth and back and forth. We've had quite a few different leaders, so it's pretty good racing. It's not the most skill-requiring racing, I think all the drivers would probably say, but it's certainly putting on a show right now, however they came around to doing that.
Wow, Jeremy Miller now up into 5th position and continuing to move. He's been just picking them off bit by bit right now. He's just behind Mitchell Welker on the top side. He's got Turner down below along with the 88 underneath him. And it is Banks currently your leader, just ahead of Klinger, who gave him the push to get up there. So he's taking that 2nd spot. Otherwise, we got 2 wide races here in behind him. Getting ready to start lap 19 now. Been green since the beginning.
Seeing that the minimum speed in the corners is 172. Josh Banks up front, it was only 173 for him, so they're not losing very much speed in the middle of the corner. It's pretty much flat out all the way around. Top speed at the end of the back straight, 180 for Banks. So it's very similar speeds all the way around. That makes it difficult to pass, but clearly the draft is very, very effective in helping that possibility.
Well, and on top of things, it's a fixed setup, so nobody can really find an advantage in that realm, either over the course of a run. It's all down to the driver to try and separate themselves how they deal with the car. And if the tire wear also isn't a factor, this is, again, it's hard to figure out who really has a fast machine tonight. And coming off of turn 4, it is currently Banks, Klinger, Welker, Miller, Turner, your top 5.
Looking like a bit of stratification now. We're not seeing that 2x2x2 action anymore. The top 3 pulling away just a little bit from Jeremy Miller, who's fighting with Bailey Turner, and Mitch Welker. He kind of took a back seat in these first 20 laps of the race, so he's moved his way back up forward now.
Miller looked like he almost dropped intentionally there, and I heard some chatter on the radio. I think someone was informing him that he had some damage. You can see it kind of on the right side of the car there.
It doesn't look that bad, so I don't know if he intentionally moved back, but he's locked on the bottom line now, and looks like that isn't really where you want to be, because that draft is up on the high line. So Joseph Causey flies by. It's like the Gulf Stream up there. If you're in that line of cars, you're moving forward, and if you're not, you're falling back, and that's what's happening to Jeremy Miller. But he does get back in line now. Halper not able to make the move, and hopefully Miller won't fall too much further back.
Also, I just noticed Ben Laughter. Remember, I mentioned he was in 15th at the back of the group. Well, he's up to 11th, although he might lose a spot because he's fighting with Hodgson right now. There you see the Struggle Buddy car struggling back past the 95. And next on his list, going to be Ray Massey. Laughter is one of those that for a brief while was well up in the order. He slipped down to 5th since then. Didn't have the greatest of races out at Dover. We'll see what he can do over the course of today, because it's still quite early. And even though he didn't qualify so good, seems like he's handling the racing decently.
And Ben Laughter, another one of those drivers who's been driving in 2 very different series today. We talk about it every week. He was in the Camel GT race earlier this morning, wasn't he? How did he do there? I wasn't paying attention.
Laughter got a 2nd place, actually, in the Camel GT series. So that was his 3rd second place in a row in that series. We'll see if he can make it a second one for today here for 2nd place.
He is slowly but surely making his way forward. It's lap 25, so it's a little bit later than the reports we got before the race, but one driver, they were on lap 20. The tires, the lowest number was 96%, so not a lot of tire wear at this point in the race. I can't imagine any of these drivers are really struggling, but those first couple percents we always hear, those are the most important ones, so they've definitely lost some speed. Fastest lap for our leader was a 30.5. They're doing 31.3s now, so even though the tires aren't wearing extensively, there is still some speed lost, so they might be going off a little bit. Some drivers might be struggling to hold an unoptimal line, and that's kind of what we're seeing. Just a 1x1x1 train for the moment, and I think it'll probably stay like this until the drivers are forced to pit.
Well, and there's the other question. We've been green all the way so far. If you're one of those towards the back, do you take a gamble then, try to undercut, and hope that this green trend continues to get yourself some track position?
Well, the caboose at the back of the field in 21st right now is Mike Hurley. He pitted under green to pull a little bit of a strategy move at Dover last week, and then he got screwed by the yellow coming out. So I think he might be a little bit more tentative in pulling that. And if you look at that livery there, Joe, last week, the people couldn't hear you because you were in the director's chair, but you questioned his Matt Brown livery, and he took a stand and he changed it up for you.
Ah, there we go. Yes. If you're going to make a car brown, a matte finish on it doesn't seem the most appealing to me. So yeah, I do like that 32. That's a very pretty car. Can't say that I watch a whole lot of anime, but I do appreciate the artwork as they come around now to start lap 29, still being led by Josh Banks. Klinger still behind him. In fact, we haven't seen a whole lot of switching around up at the front. I get the sense that these guys kind of had enough of all the craziness and are just trying to log some laps.
There's not much else they can do because there's some drivers who have tried to peek their noses down to the bottom and maybe go for a pass, and it just hasn't worked. So they don't really have much choice other than to stay in line here. I think all of them they're happy to stay in line here because they are saving a little bit of fuel. A little bit like an IndyCar pack race. The leader is going to be using up the most fuel of anybody. But here's an attempt at a pass. It's the 8 and the 88, Causey and Hutton. Does the bottom have anything for Causey? No, it doesn't. And Hutton just runs away, and there's that Gulfstream draft up top. Causey's just going to get freight trained here as everybody else follows Hutton through.
So Causey all the way down to 7th, maybe a few more. Spinning off the 23 and the 26 also want to demote him. And, well, with it cutting off at this stage at that pack, Jeremy Miller now back by a second and a half. Ben Lafter's hooked up with him. They might actually pull along Nolan Hodgson, Will Cloud, Brad Allison, and that's it, actually down to 14th. Oh, and we have a change for the lead potentially. Side by side at the front, Klinger and Banks. Klinger had enough of just sitting behind him, but he's going to pay for it. As you've been calling it, the Gulf Stream. He just picks up the airflow. He's out of the draft and drops back. Looks like only to 4th, though, if he can find an opening. He starts to drift up, and no, nobody's going to let him in.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality of this portion of the run. You get out of the line, you want to make a pass, you want to make it exciting, you want to get to the lead, and you just can't do that. And he ended up losing more spots than he would have gained by doing that. I don't know if he's going to be regretting that choice or what, because I think he's a racing driver. He wants to always go for it, but it definitely did not work out for them. That's going to be a cautionary tale for Welker, who's now the second-placed car. He's probably not going to repeat what Klinger just did.
So maybe track position at the end of the run is really going to be the big thing. So will we see drivers trying to frantically get up to the front in the early parts of it, and then when they start to feel the tires go off, try to get in line as quick as they can just to preserve whatever position they may have gained? We're also hearing that they may having to be lifting a little bit, and we get our first caution. Looks like this is Will Cloud, and I see the 3 of Allison involved. This is in 1 and 2.
Looks like Allison was on the bottom. Oh, that was on the 84. We'll see the replay hopefully, but the 84 of Will Cloud just came down from about 3 lanes and just kind of murdered the 3. Yeah, there was not enough room for both of those cars where, and that was the 35 of Thornton who took a big old bite out of the 84 car as well. So that's 3 cars damaged in that one, unfortunately.
If we want to replay, Eddie Trejo in the 21 had to really thread the needle. Also, I see what you did there with the Reese's car and bite. Yeah, and man, that was a big hit. Not sure what kind of damage he has. There goes Trejo and someone else with him as well, Clifton Cockrell, who just ekes through there.
He can see what's going on ahead of him, like a couple miles ahead, and he knows that it's a bank track, so cars usually fall to the bottom. He goes to the top, and I don't think he expected to have that little space, but he did find a hole through there, so well done to Eddie Trejo for fitting that Amazon Prime package through the mail slot.
Also, we could already hear Miller on the radio as soon as that yellow came out, basically saying thank you and glad that he can get his damaged fix. Hopefully it gets back to normal. It wasn't a whole lot. Thankfully, we're seeing everybody hit their stalls this time, except for Casey Lakatos, who didn't get the memo on where his pit stall is.
And fortunate for Casey, and this has been an issue we've seen this season with the brakes on these next-gen cars. The drivers haven't been able to get the car stopped, but Casey did not even attempt to go into his box. I imagine his crew chief, either he forgot to turn his crew chief on, or he doesn't have a physical crew chief. Whatever's going on with Casey Lakatos, he's completely missed his pit stall. So he wasn't too high up the order, so he won't lose too much when he comes back down pit road. And Matthew Close as well didn't stop. I didn't see if he missed his stall or what, but I think both of these drivers will probably be back down this time.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the case. Yeah, Welker is the first out of that group, which is interesting. And he took a full pit stop. Yeah, nobody gambling on a two-tire stop here in that group. And yeah, there goes Lakatos and Close. And Welker will re-inherit the lead. So where Banks is down in ninth. Did he?
Yeah, if we can get a replay of that. He overcooked his box. As I said, he had to back it up, and he lost 8 spots because of it.
Well, that's unfortunate for him, obviously. And looks like Allison and Cloud naturally will have to take a lot of repairs back there. And poor Zach Thornton has also had to take repairs. He's still on the lead lap. He's trying to cycle back around. Are we lights out on the pace car? Because we're already doubling up here. Let me double check. And yes, we are lights out on the pace car. So we're getting ready to go green. And Thornton's got to really get his way to the tail of the train soon.
He should have time. They're only exiting turn 2 now, so he should meet up with the back to back with Jeremy Miller, or not Jeremy Miller, Casey Lakatos and Matthew Close, who had to pit there. And honestly, it might help Thornton here. He might have damage, but he'll have a little bit warmer tires. So, you know, anything could happen. He might be able to make up a couple spots on the shortest of runs, and hopefully his pit crew repaired that damage well. So hopefully we won't lose him from this pack.
Okay, after our first caution, getting restarted on lap 38, and it will once again be Welker, one of our front runners. Started on the front row. This time he's going to be on the inside. There goes the pace car. 16 waiting on it. Green flag is out, and he gets a pretty good jump. The 88, unfortunately, might lose out to the 24 here. And yeah, he's going to just get freight trained as there's some help on the bottom to continue to push him back. Now, I theorized here, Joey, that we could see a lot of hard racing trying to find track position at the start of the stint. I'm curious to see if that winds up being true.
Well, if we have a similar length of stint from the previous one, that'll get us to lap 65 with those halfway points. So drivers are going to have to get very aggressive here if they want to get a good spot in that train to be that ever so desirable leader once the halfway point comes. Mitch, I'm not sure if that jump was the best move for Mitch Welker because he just got swallowed up by Bailey Turner. He got an incredible run, and he was able to use that momentum to just sweep around the outside there, and I worry that he's going to get swallowed up by a couple more drivers here.
Feels a bit like deja vu because it was Bailey Turner who was going by Banks as well. That first time as the 88 has to catch the car running up the hill. I think he got a little bump from the side. May have been some net code as well, as it looks like Welker gets back up to the front very quickly. The 71 pushing him forward.
Where has Ryan Carwile been in the first 40 laps? I don't think we've said his name once, but somehow he's up to second. He started 6th. I think he fell back a little bit, was riding in the back of the pack for the majority of this first stint, or at least in the middle of the pack, and somehow he's up to second. And these 2 maroon cars going to be battling for the lead here. Can Carwile get a nose under? Interesting that Mitch didn't go all the way down to the apron there. Ryan Carwile, if he was being a little bit more aggressive, I think he might have been able to send it down there, but he doesn't. He was patient, and he's going to wait and hope that he has another chance at it.
See, Josh Banks in the 36 was in 4th. Now he gets demoted to 5th by the 24, who finds himself a run. Oh, no, the 71 gets hit, and we're going to have a big one. Oh, unfortunately, we have got at least half a dozen cars that took serious damage. I see multiple blown engines. Miller's one of them right after he repaired his. Hutton is out, and it looks like Clifton Cockrell potentially might have to call it a day.
I don't know if that was the commentator's curse or what, but Ryan Carwile, right after I mentioned that he was moving on up in the world, he got dumped by Chad Klinger, and unfortunately, yeah, there's a lot of smoke in the air, a lot of destroyed cars in the pits. Carwile, Cockrell, Hutton, Evan Adams, Eddie Trejo. I'm trying to see, does he have any damage? Yes, he does. That thing doesn't have a hood, and the car exploding in front of him is Ray Massey, and Jeremy Miller's in trouble, so that was a very, very big one.
It was indeed. Ray Massey collected, and he actually may not have hit a whole lot. He may have gotten away lucky on that one. Yeah, I see a few smaller bumps, but the 23 seems to have maybe survived this. Taking a lot of looks at this, and well, we'll have some time to try and do so. And yeah, you called it. There goes the 09. I saw that live, and I thought that does not look good, and some netcode made it worse as he just tipped the quarter panel. And the speeds that they're going here, Joey, it's kind of hard to have small accidents.
Yeah, he definitely, I'm not sure if he made physical contact, but he made air contact. There were millimeters between those two cars, and unfortunately with the wall right there, with that terrible angle that Carwile went in, he was just getting spat out right in front of this recently packed up pack, and nowhere for a lot of those drivers to go. Evan Adams was at the back of it. He didn't make it through. The Reese's car, Zachary Thornton, he was at the back of it all, so we'll see. Did he make it through here? I think he did. I don't see him coming down pit road for much service. Yes, I do now. He is in the pits, so he must have gotten a big hit here. Yeah, nowhere really for him to go. It wasn't the biggest hit. He hit Ben Laughter in the back pretty bad, but he was just kind of in the middle of all of it, and he got hit from every direction. And unfortunately, Zachary Thornton, one of the many casualties who will be sitting in the pits for a while.
Speaking of those many casualties, we have Adam Lindgren as pit reporter today. Adam, it sounds like you've got the update on who all is where down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Bailey Turner decided to stay out, as well as Joshua Banks and Mitchell Welker all decided to stay out after this incident that we're watching on screen. And Jeremy Miller also decided to stay out, but he's got a blown engine. And obviously with the contact that was made in this particular incident, that's exactly why that happened. So everyone else who came into the pits, most of them were fuel only, a couple of 2-tire stoppers as well. And we got plenty of people in the pits still doing repairs down there. Clifton Cockrell's coming in for a little bit more fuel, but Eddie Trejo, Eric Hutton, Evan Adams, and obviously Carwile with major damage.
Yeah, he's still sitting down there trying to bang away at it. He kind of should have seen this coming, though, Joey, because, I mean, when the hokey gets pokeyed, you get turned around.
If Jeremy Miller stays out here with that blown engine, he's not going to be a very popular character. I imagine maybe race control will black flag him here, because he's showing no interest in coming in. I wonder, does he think he's going to get a wave around? It looks like he is getting a wave around. I don't know what's going on with Jeremy Miller here, but
he's coming back around, but he's not coming in, and the car is still smoking its way around.
It's going to explode any second now, so he's not going to be alive for very long. He must not have a meatball flag. Maybe he's just trying to take a victory lap of death before he finally blows up here, but he's credited as the race leader now, so he's not supposed to be passing the pace car, but whatever he's doing, he's leaving a smoke screen for the rest of the drivers.
I mean, to be fair, he's getting an extra lap, so if there's anybody that DNFs, he'll get this position, but the black flag might actually knock him down a bit. So I don't know about passing the pace car. I mean, I'd credit him for continuing on just to try and see if he can get some spots. Is he coming down now? Because he's on the lower part. This is bizarre. And yeah, he is coming in.
I wonder if he just thought that he's going to be in the pits for a while with a blown engine like that. He's probably going to be in there for like a half hour or so. Maybe he thought, you know what, I'll get some TV time. I'll do something interesting. I'll pass the pace car and he'll bring it down. He'll probably have to serve a black flag in addition to the half an hour he's going to spend in the pits, but at least he got some entertainment.
Gave us some as well. Lights are off on the pace car, and Bailey Turner will lead them back. Looks like he'll be trying to compete with Josh Banks down on the low side. There goes the pace car. Green flag is out, and we saw this last time, a car getting a jump off the line, acts a bit like the super speedway. Will the 24 get swallowed up? Josh Banks going to stay low. He's got close in his lane. Welker up to the high side. I see Licato starting to join in the 50, and Welker is dropping like a rock up there.
Now this is where Bailey Turner has to defend from every angle. Josh Banks couldn't get to the bottom of him. Matthew Close couldn't get to the top of him. So even though he did get that big run and everybody else got that big run on him, he was still able to hold on to the lead because it seems like everybody behind him is too busy fighting each other to actually issue a challenge.
A lot of 3 wide in the middle and some cars making some sketchy moves. 92 of Close up on the high side, trying to get around the 24, runs out of steam as they come up into turn 3. Lakatos now the one on the bottom in the 50, chasing the 24. All of them running down low. And how about this? The 64 of Ben Laughter is starting to gain. He's up in 6th and trying to pass Welker for P5. And, well, Lakatos gets underneath the 24. He's your new leader.
The 24 went up very, very high the previous lap. That's why Matthew Close got up so close to the wall, and he did that again. It didn't work out for him, and Casey Lakatos found the hole. Matthew Close finds the hole to the bottom, and he's got to get back down there before Josh Banks gets him as well. Speaking of Ben Laughter, he does have that rear end damage. Doesn't look like he got that fixed in the pits from getting hit by Thornton. So he's got rear end damage. Thornton has front end damage. So them two together, they make a fully fixed car, but Laughter's going to be struggling with that, and Thornton's going to be struggling more because that front end damage is always worse than the rear end damage.
They're not the only ones. Klinger's got a lot on his left side, it looks like. So he's dealing with that. You can see a number of cars just scraped and banged up out here, looking a little bit more like Bristol, if anything. Whoa, and Thornton got sketchy down on the bottom. Little bit of touching between, I think, himself and Causey.
Director Zach Johnson just pointed this out to me. Casey Lakatos and Matthew Close, if you remember that last pit cycle, they were the two that missed their pit stall. They had to come in afterwards, and clearly that was advantageous for them because they were at the back. They missed all the action, and they've cycled their way back up to the front now.
Unbelievable. Sometimes the racing gods are fickle things. And as they come along the front stretch, and it looks like, I think, is that the, I think that's Josh Banks sporting, yeah, some damage on the nose of that 36, just sliding in front of the 09, trying to get back to the train here. 23 going to be the one hung out to dry amongst them.
And Bailey Turner, who's third, he's actually on the longest stint of anybody.
We've got a wreck on the backstretch. The 35 of Thornton and Michael Hurley came together. No caution, but they both wound up with some decent damage, although Hurley's looks like it came from before as Thornton's hit the wall.
I don't think Mike actually has any damage. I think that's just the strange angles of that Hatsune Miku car. Maybe a little bit of rear end damage, but other than that, he doesn't have much. But if we can see what happened with Thornton, he just came up about 17 lanes up and just destroyed Mike. Nothing Mike did wrong there. The 35 just, I don't know if his spotter didn't tell him he wasn't clear, but he drove up there as if there was nobody else up there, and the 32 was up there. It's unfortunate for Mike. He unfortunately can't really seem to avoid the accidents in this series. He was all on his lonesome back there, and somebody still found a way to hit him.
Oh, and Close and Lakatos are going side by side for the lead as we come back live, but Close runs down to the bottom and seems to lack pace now, and he's unfortunately getting blown past. There goes Welker and Turner. Turner going to try around the high side of the 50 as well. Holy cow, the high side is the way to be off the corners. Look at that.
It finally worked out for Bailey Turner going up there, so whether he's been nicer to his stuff than Lakatos has or what, he went up there, made it work. Mitch Welker came with him, and Matthew Close unfortunately hasn't been able to replicate that. He's on the high line, and he is falling back. Joshua Banks down to the bottom of him. Klinger going to try and get down there as well, but they're not going to be able to clear him. Banks almost does, almost drives him into the wall. Matthew Close does hang on the high side that time.
This first group now only goes back to 8th. We got a gap down to 9th where it's Hodgson, Causey, and Halpern in that group, and then poor Michael Hurley with his incident is basically on his lonesome. 10 laps to the halfway mark for those bonus points. And yeah, after that first pit stop, who would have thought that we'd be saying that Turner and Close would be taking some of the best points here at the halfway marker.
Josh Banks, the only driver up on the high side now. On the outside of Ray Massey, and he does get that run. There's the line that's rolling up there. It's just going to dispose of Ray Massey. He goes all the way down to the apron, but he's got no drafting help down there, and he's going to fall all the way to the back of the train.
This has been a strange race. The attrition is atrocious right now. I think we've only got 12 cars running on the track. We could still see Miller, Cockrell, Trejo, Hutton, and Adams return if they fancy trying to get whatever positions they can. I mean, they could work their way up, a number of them, as up on the high side. That's Licatos in the 50 going past Welker. Welker now the one that's just going to fall backwards and downwards through the order in that 16 Coca-Cola car. And Licatos fancies trying to get back to the front. He's going to go past the 24.
Is he going to clear him into the corner, though? Yes, he is. Casey Licatos sends it in there quite deep. Close washes up, and the bottom did work in 3 and 4. We didn't think it was the optimal line, but it did work for Casey Licatos there. Looks like he's on 7-lap younger tires than Bailey Turner as well. I'm not sure if he took tires in that earlier pit stop, because Casey came down for 5 seconds 7 laps after Bailey did. So I'm not sure what's going on there tire-wise, but whatever's under Casey Licatos' car, it's really working out because he made that bottom line work incredibly.
We have our first Doria Award of the night. Clifton Cockrell's back out on the track. And he just promoted himself to 14th by doing so. However, he's only running about 150 miles an hour. You can see the sorry state that 28 is in. Compare that to the leaders doing about 175. So he's going to get swallowed up. He'll probably want to stay well clear of their way, especially if they start going 3 wide.
Yeah, Cockrell, he's going to have to make up 7 laps to get by Zachary Thornton, who's disconnected for P13. So he's going to have to hope that car doesn't explode. But he'll be one for the Phoenix Award. There's always one every week, so he might be it. Eddie Trejo, Evan Adams might get out eventually, or he might just be crew chiefing for the car that's still alive from his team in Michael Hurley. But here's Clifton all the way out of the way. Good on him for staying up there, leaving as much room as possible. On exit, he's going to be a little bit in the way, but that's the shape of the track. You can't really get any more out of the way.
Wow, you can see just how quickly they were going past him. 20-mile-an-hour difference, maybe a little even more than that on the straightaway for them. Down around the tri-oval once again. 4 more laps here to decide our halfway points, and guys getting a little frisky up at the front to try and get those bonus 10.
Turner gets to his favorite outside line again, and now he's going to be the leader of the train out there. And Casey Licatos, in the worst possible timing, there were only 3 laps until that halfway mark. He's going to fall back now.
Absolutely. So, with 2 cautions so far, but multiple incidents beyond that. And look at the battle behind them for third. Josh Banks ahead of Licatos and Massey. I think they're going to get that sorted. Oh, is sliding up the hill. The 92 of Close once again getting achingly near that outside wall. Mitchell Welker is going to go underneath and give a little bit of a hello to the 23 of Massey.
Ray Massey also got very close to that outside wall, so I think Close had a little bit of target fixation there as he watched Massey drift up. They both kind of followed the same line up almost into the outside wall, but looks like they're both okay. Looks like they didn't make too much or any contact with that outside wall, so they're both going to finally swallow up Mitch Welker, and there he goes to the back of this train. This is the top 8 in the race, so all these guys are guaranteed halfway points with 1 more lap to go until they receive them, but they're not going to want to be 8th. They're not going to want to get 3 points. They're going to want to get 10 points.
Ooh, and across the line, it was very tight with Massey, Banks, and they were 4 wide across there, so I have no idea what order that is on that one. There's still 3 wide back there with Massey to the outside, Banks in the middle, Close on the bottom. Got to give each other space here, boys. We still got a lot of racing left to go. And I think Banks going to start to pull out of that. Yeah, he's going to fall behind it all.
And very easily, Bailey Turner, Chad Klinger lost like 6 or 7 car lengths to Bailey Turner. He was absolutely nowhere. So it's an easy 10 points for Bailey Turner, and we'll see if Klinger can get the momentum up, because I think he's still nursing a little bit of damage, so he might be a little bit lower on straight line speed, but that's one of the biggest gaps we've ever seen from the leader.
16 going to cut down in front of Banks now, who's in 7th, and Ben Laughter at the trail of it, the tail of it there at the bottom, and finally allows them through. Here we go. Klinger once again trying to get underneath Bailey Turner, but that doesn't work. In fact, it backfires. Lakatos is going to use the momentum on the high side to start to narrow down on that 24. Thinks about bottom, thinks about high, and just stays on the same line as Turner.
Yeah, I don't think he could really tell where Bailey Turner was going. He chose like the last second to actually pick where he was going. He picked the middle line, and it was just too late for Casey to commit to any other line. So Bailey Turner kind of Pied Pipering the field like at Talladega, just holding off every possible challenge from Casey Lakatos. But if he gets a run, if he is opportunistic and chooses his line early, I think he'll be able to get back by. But right now, Bailey Turner knows he's not going to be too aggressive, and he knows he's pretty comfortable in the lead.
Looks like Cockrell's back on the lane, taking a few more repairs. I'm not sure if he was overheating or what. Oh, and he's back out already. So he's going to try and make just a couple more laps to Thornton as we get the battle for the lead once again. Oh, and that bottom line just pinches way too much. The 24 runs away. Behind them, they all have to check up as they gain speed on everyone who unfortunately got held up by the 50. Coming around now to start lap 70.
And that's exactly what Bailey Turner had to do, just completely choke off the bottom line. Even if Casey gets down there, don't let him get a run. Make sure he can't get that exit speed that he needs, and Bailey Turner masterfully executed that as he looks back. He sees the entire train all the way back to Ben Laughter. Everybody wants to get by him somehow, and if they all work together, they might be able to, but that requires everybody ditching Bailey at once, and Casey can't quite lead that train yet.
Also, Cockrell has just overtaken Zach Thornton, so move him up into 13th now. Oh, down to the inside, and Lucatos gives it another go. 24 probably just going to continue to drop him like a bad habit off of turn 2, and there it is right there.
Bailey left him a lot more room that time, which was interesting, and it still worked. So I guess he doesn't need to choke him down that much. So he can leave more room. He can be a little bit safer, and the rest of the field is going to follow him through. Casey Lakatos still stuck on the bottom, and yeah, he's going all the way back to 8th here. He's going behind Ben Laughter.
Yeah, this time it really backfired on him. And Lakatos even getting on the radio, wondering if he's got any friends at all here. Yep, there you go. Ben Laughter passed him, and that's 8th place. That's not the worst thing in the world. Trying to overtake 8 cars here does seem doable, but you gotta strategize it right. Top 2 starting to pull away a little bit, it looks like. Close, gapping Massey somewhat.
And they are lifting in the corners now, so that might be a little bit of why we're seeing some separation. It's not flat out all the way anymore. There is actually some lifting and choosing when to go on the throttle here. They're much slower in the middle of the corner. So clearly Bailey Turner and Matthew Close doing something right, but that draft is so powerful that that gap they had, it was only for about a millisecond. Close gets super close to the rear bumper of Turner that time, but here comes the other 6, and now they're right on the back of him once again.
With the little lifts happening and everybody starting to get more single file, who dares try to come in, or they're all going to wait for yet another caution? Now that we've had a few, it might feel a little more sketchy trying to take a gamble like that and undercut everybody. A little bit of a bump from Close on the 24 car that time down the back stretch. We got a few jostling for position along the tri-oval this time. Massey to the outside of Klinger. Can he get clear of him by the time he gets into the corner? No, he cannot.
Bottom is not working. Josh Banks washes up. He hit the side of Mitchell Welker there, but nothing happened. Luckily, no netcode involved. Mitch could have been dumped or destroyed by Josh Banks for the second time in 3 weeks. Didn't happen. Both of them came away to live and drive another day, but they're getting aggressive, and you might need to actually get to the door of somebody and slow them down a little bit if you want to make a move, but you also don't want to take them out. You don't want to be the reason for the caution here.
Yeah, we saw the lapped car of Cockrell just staying out of the way on the high side once again. Not sure what he's hoping to achieve from this one, unless do they have a lap limit actually that you have to surpass to have your points count? Because I wonder if maybe that's what he's trying to ensure here. He is staying out of the way, credit to him, but he is quite slow on the circuit. So he's got to be very careful out there. And Josh Banks giggling about something over the radio now.
He's just having so much fun, so who knows what's going on there. I don't believe there is a lap limit, so Clifton Cockrell will get his points, but I think he's staying out because Jeremy Miller, Eddie Trejo, Evan Adams, they're still here, and Eric Cutton. So even if they get out of the pits after like half an hour of repairs, they can get out there. And if he's only 5 laps ahead of him, if he retires right now, he's only 15 laps ahead of him. So they could still overtake him. So I think he's just trying to get as many laps as humanly possible to hold a safeguard on that 13th place.
Wavering a little bit high there. Welker liking the way it looks, up about a lane above everybody else. Not getting him a position quite yet. Look at the 92 as well. My goodness. Matthew Close riding way up high and then cutting back down off the corner. I wonder if he's trying to diamond it to get a better run on the straights to see if he can finally get the track position over Turner.
I think he's trying to fall back just to get a little bit more momentum in the draft, because if he's like 5 feet behind Turner, he's not getting any draft at all. He's not getting any momentum. But if he falls back a little bit, if he's a little bit slower in 3 and 4, he gets a couple car lengths or 1 car length between him and Turner. He does get that little bit of extra momentum. The only problem is right now he can't really do anything with it. I think if it was the final 5 laps, he might be a little bit more aggressive, but there's still 52 to go. So he's not interested in doing anything crazy here. He's just kind of sticking to the back of Turner.
Still no takers on pit lane. If I was Hurley, I might try and see if it'll do something for me. He's on the lead lap, yeah, so he'd be giving him a chance at getting lapped here if he gets caught out by the yellow, but he's not catching them. He's a full 15 seconds behind, which is half a lap. So he's got to do something here.
Yeah, I don't know what he could do back there. I think his best bet is honestly just to stick it out, hope a caution comes at an opportune time. Even if it comes after he gets lapped, he will be the lucky dog, so he'll get back on the lead lap. So I think his best move is to stay out. We know him and green flag pit stops haven't had the best history. Seems like he's a magnet for bad luck in this series. So, well, in any series he's in, he's a magnet for bad luck, unfortunately. No fault of his own. But he'll probably just stick it out here, hope for a caution, and that'll be his only real way up to the top 10 again.
Cockrell's also back into pit lane. So, not sure if this is the last of it for him, or is he going to try and get a few more repairs and get back out once again. So, Lakatos, I saw a moment ago, was trying to move forward. He falls all the way back to 8th again. Nobody wants to help that 50. And he is 5th in the points right now, so he's probably got a few guys that, of course, don't want to give him too much help. But I'm a bit shocked at the way he seems to be failing to try and make the progress that he seems to want.
And nobody really able to make any progress in this front 8, but pit stops are coming up. It's been 47 laps since the last time these drivers came through the pit lane, so those tanks will be running out in the near future. I don't know what the tire strategy will be. I don't know if anybody will take tires, but I believe Adam Lindgren down there in the pits, he might have a little bit more information about that pit cycle.
Yeah, pit cycle is going to be very interesting here. Whenever they come to the pits, they're going to have to be really careful to make sure to pit with friends. Otherwise, they're going to be caught out losing about 0.3 to 0.5 seconds a lap just because of the power of the draft. I mean, we've seen how hard it is for someone who comes out of the draft to try and make a pass around here. You think about losing that amount of time over the course of an entire lap and not having this draft train to catch on to the back of. I mean, even with fresh tires propelling you around this track, the top speeds these guys were getting in quality qualifying were somewhere around 175. They're still doing 182, 183 in the draft on the straightaways, only backing down to about 169 in the corners. So these guys are going to have to get a draft train going in order to take their pit stops.
So I was doing a little research here on the stats, and
here they come, Joe. I got a couple people who are going to decide to pit in right now.
Oh, and one of them is Turner, our leader, going for the early stops. Looks like Massey's going to join. I was just about to say the highest car to have won in this group up at the front is Chad Klinger, and he's our points leader. Everybody else has not won yet this season. It's looking extremely likely by statistically for us to get a sixth different winner.
Absolutely. So it's going to be foreign fuel for all these drivers whenever they come into the pits. And it looks like we've got a couple more takers coming in as well. We've got 3 or 4 cars. Oh, somebody missed the pit lane.
That was close. The 92 unfortunately bailed on it late, and this is just going to do nothing but hurt him.
So Turner and Massey are both out, 4 tires and fuel for both of them. 14, almost 15-second stops for those drivers. Here we have Welker, Banks, and Klinger all coming down to the pits. They're in a group, so hopefully they'll have a little bit more pace. Turner and Massey are actually separated by about half a second on the track as well, so they've got a little bit of trouble to worry about. And Lakatos thought about coming in, but he couldn't make it either. So Ben Laughter comes in with Close, who missed it last time around.
Looks like out of pit lane, Welker's going to beat Banks and Klinger. Coming around beside them, getting lapped by Causey, Hodgson, and Halpern, who's staying out. But Bailey Turner also came by and just zoomed past them with a whole head of steam. And he's going to unlap himself from some of these other cars that have yet to pit.
So Turner smoking his way up to the front of the field. He's now unlapped himself. He's back onto the lead lap as we see some more drivers heading the pit lane. That's Lakatos who finally makes it to the pit lane, but he's alone by himself. He's got no friends. And there we see that's Bailey Turner leading our current race leader, Nolan Hodgson, who's just now, they're actually just about to come into the pits, Joey.
This is going to be very interesting when everything shuffles out. We've still got 5 drivers who haven't pitted yet, 6 or 4 now. As Casey Lakatos will hopefully bring it down here in the near future. Here he is. He's down pit road. He's leaving. And Hodgson, Halpern, Causey, Hurley, all those stragglers who weren't with the top 8, they're the drivers who are leading right now. I don't know if they were able to save extra fuel or what, but this is their easy way to the lead lap. So I think that's why they're staying out here. And they're going to stay out for as long as humanly possible and hope for a caution, because they'll be in a great position.
Unfortunately for Hurley, the longest he could go was now. He is down pit lane. And he's going to have lost some time staying out on those older tires. Oh, we got a few more in. Is this? Yeah, this is Hodgson. Causey is in. Halpern sticks it out, hoping that he can maybe get something from this. We've only got he and 3 other cars on the lead lap right now. Bailey Turner, one of those, the only one who has pitted recently that has gotten his lap back.
Here you see the new tire difference. Zach Halpern on those old tires, and the other 4 there is absolutely rocketing past as he gets it slowed down to bring it down pit road. Halpern, the last of the pitters. He'll probably cycle to the 10th, 11th, 12th position where he was before. And Bailey Turner now, he pitted on his lonesome, or almost on his lonesome. Ray Massey was with him as well, but he's got a 2-second lead over Ray Massey.
Yeah, with that being said, Joey, even though he has that 2-second lead, he's out there by himself. It was 2.3 seconds just last lap, and as he crosses the line, it's going to be 1.5 seconds. So that group behind him that has the draft is catching him up. Bailey Turner was able to benefit from having the draft from all the drivers up ahead of him who had yet to pit, but now he's out there by himself, so he's not going to be out there for very long.
Yeah, I'm looking at the lap time. Massey with a 30.8, Turner a 31.2. Another half-second chopped off. This train of 4 is a-coming. That's Massey leading Welker, Banks, and Klinger in that group.
Now is when you've got to start being aggressive. 40 laps to go. Track position's going to matter here, because if we do go green all the way, the end of this run, it's going to be very difficult to make a move in those final laps. So Massey, Welker, Banks, Klinger, and not Lakatos. We've lost Lakatos, so it's going to be a 5-car pack up here. We'll see if Massey has this momentum. Can he charge past Bailey Turner? Bailey Turner's been great at defending from these incredible runs. So I don't know. I don't know what Bailey Turner's going to do here, but he's shown quite a bit of defending prowess, so I would not hold it against him if he hangs on to the lead.
Oh, remember when you speculated about Cockrell needing as many laps as he can? Eddie Trejo is back out on track, and I think now that Cockrell has realized that, he's coming out too, because there's about 8 laps difference between them. So Clifton basically has to keep running as long as he sees Eddie keep running just to retain this 13th position. We'll try and keep tabs on that battle as this race continues on. And we can see from the back of the 24 that Massey now has it down to 0.4 of a second. And based on the way that the 24 wasn't letting anybody by for such a long time in that middle stint, I think nobody's going to take any mercy on him. This is going to be a freight train when they catch him.
Well, they have caught him here, and it looks like the run might have died out a little bit, but Massey is going to be the leader of this train. Can he dispatch of Bailey Turner? He goes up to the high line, and no, Turner chooses the high line as well. This top 5 just stuck together on the same line in that Bailey Turner train.
Well, I thought they were going to be able to blow past, but yeah, now that Turner has been able to kind of move in front of them, maybe he has also been able to pick up the speed of this 5-car now train at the top of the field and across the line. Let's see if this lap is faster for him. 31.2 last time, 30.9. Yeah, there you go. So as soon as he was caught by those, he basically was able to pick up the same speed as them.
We'll see what can Ray Massey do here is the question Ray Massey is asking himself. Matthew Close, when he was up there, wasn't able to get by Bailey Turner, and unfortunately for Close, he's now 9.5 seconds away from this battle. That's because he missed pit entry, so he screwed himself over there. That's the tough part of green flag pit stops. But Ray Massey probably watched what Matthew Close was doing. He saw that it was difficult to make a pass. He saw that you're going to have to commit early and probably not send it to the bottom in 1 and 2. So hopefully he's learned something, and hopefully he can do something here in a couple of laps time.
Turner's only been at one other race this season, and he finished in the top 5 in that race. Need to double check exactly what his finishing position was.
It was last week, and he finished second. That's why he's in the Dash for Cash this week.
Well, there you go. This has been quite the performance for him down low. Josh Banks, who's still looking for his first win, which is kind of surprising considering the speed that he typically shows. Just can't seem to be able to get into those podium spots. He's going to slot back in behind Welker. Getting close to 30 laps left. We've been green for quite some time since cycled through green flag pit stops. These drivers have now made their bed, and they're going to have to lie in it.
And as these guys sit in a train, the other stragglers, the other 3 that were in this top 8 pack before that pit cycle, Ben Lafter and Casey Lakatos are trying to close the gap to each other as Eddie Trejo forces Bailey Turner to move to a different line for the first time in about 80 laps. But Lafter has a buddy. He has Mike Hurley, who's a lap down, drafting with him, and they're working together to catch up to Casey Lakatos. So 6th place is on the table for Lafter, but after that, can the 2 of them or the 3 of them with their lap buddy Mike, can they make it up to the top 8? It's going to be a tough order.
From behind this 5th place, Lakatos, by the way, is our 6th place car. He's kind of being chased by Ben Lafter. They're also split by Michael Hurley, who's actually a lap down, unfortunately, because of him pitting so late. And we watch down into the 95 here. This is Nolan Hodgson ahead of Causey and Close. They are on the lead lap. In fact,
that's there.
Is that our caution?
Yep, he couldn't save it, but he's on his lonesome. I don't know if it's going to come out.
The 8 trying to get it going. He gets it to the bottom. No caution yet. He's out of the racing line. We keep running.
I'm surprised that wasn't a caution. He was parked in the middle of the back straight, but I guess he was all on his lonesome. There weren't any cars around him, so bad luck for Joseph Causey. Yep, close, just put the bumper to him. Not much Causey did wrong there, and put even worse by the fact that the caution didn't come out.
Yeah, and some of the drivers even saying we really could have used that caution, wanting to regain the time. You can see how big of a hit that was. He's going to keep rolling, just try and finish this one. He's still ahead of Hurley, so he's got that going for him. But I think, yeah, he's being caught pretty quickly, so he might fall down to 12th here.
And before that happened, Massey was all over the back of the 24. He almost put the bumper to him in 1 and 2. He tried to go to the outside. Nothing came of it. He couldn't send it down to the inside, but there are 2 lapped cars coming up here. That's Eddie Trejo, I believe, is one of them, and Joseph Causey as well. So those are going to be 2 more chances for Bailey Turner to slip up and Ray Massey to hopefully find a gap to make up on that.
25 laps left this time by Eddie Trejo, staying out of the way of this top group. Continuing to see if he can potentially maybe try and run down Clifton Cockrell. 7 laps behind him now to the 28. But again, Clifton's still out there rolling himself. And as long as he keeps doing that up until we get to 8 laps to go, he's not going to be able to catch him. Tires starting to wear out a little bit on this stint. We're 20 laps in for most of the drivers. Of those on the lead lap, who has the freshest, actually? It looks like, I believe, Zach Halpern, I want to say, in the 26. Yeah, he appears to be the one that has the most recent pit stop there. But he is 13 seconds behind Matthew Close, about 5 laps difference between them. Not sure if that's going to be enough to try and chop that down. 8 staying up on the high side. Causey just not wanting to get into any problems with this front group. Hurley's now within about 5 seconds of him.
That was very kind from Mitch Welker to not go down to the apron and follow Bailey Turner and leapfrog Ray Massey. I don't know why he didn't do that and get himself up to second. I wonder if he and Ray have a little bit of a non-speaking agreement here to work together maybe in the later laps and move their way forward, because he had a golden opportunity there to get down to the bottom. And I think he would have been clear because Bailey would have sucked him up there, but he didn't go for it. And maybe he was worried he would have got stuck on the bottom if Ray was able to hold the outside there. But I'm not sure. It just shows these drivers are still tentative. 22 laps to go, and we're still not seeing those moves the drivers need to make yet.
Here's the other thing that's interesting about this, Joey, is that we still have at least 1 more set for most of these drivers. Some of them even have 2 sets up there. So if we get a caution or a couple late cautions, that could change things entirely as well.
Yeah, and with only 12 cars, Joseph Causey has a lot of damage, so he probably wouldn't be a factor. But with only 11 cars that would reasonably be on the lead lap, pitting for tires with that little bit of tire wear, like I said, those first couple percentage points are very important. So the difference between 195 doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. So if it is a late restart, if you're 10th, you might as well come in for those fresh tires. But if you're Bailey Turner and we get a late restart, I think there's a 0% chance that you'd leave this front position.
Down and across the line once again. Let's not forget about Chad Klinger, Josh Banks back there just kind of hanging out. Are they selling them? Are they playing possum here, or are they trying to just wait for the right time to make a move? Looks like Causey's joined the group, and he's just kind of riding their tails to help get him some speed. Actually, is that helping him keep Hurley from behind a little bit? Hurley's down to 4.6 seconds, so he is still gaining. But he's actually, well, Hurley is clinging to Laughter and Licato, so he's found his own train to join up with.
Remember, he was up ahead of Ben Laughter. He was towing him up to Casey Licatus, and he succeeded. So Ben Laughter is going to be very thankful for Mike here, and now we do have a battle for 6th with Flakatus and Laughter. They're going to wish they were still in that lead pack, but they do have something to fight over. And Mike, he's not racing on the lead lap anymore, but he was being as helpful as a lap car can possibly be by bringing these two together.
Thing is, Adam's been watching some of those drivers back there, Banks, Welker, those guys. You've spotted something interesting. What's been going on?
Yeah, Ray Massey and Mitchell Welker in the second and third positions, they're actually starting to run a higher line than Turner, trying to save their tires a little bit. And that's just something I've been noticing in 3 and 4. There you can see Massey going up a lane higher, trying to save his tires a little bit on that high side. When they get to the end of this race, they're going to have 45, 48 laps on their tires. That's going to be right towards the end of their tire life. So these cars are not going to be behaving super well. And this particular fixed setup definitely pushes towards the tight direction for these drivers. So that's why you're seeing them up there on that high side to try and save those tires just a little bit and possibly have a little bit of tire delta over Bailey Turner by the end of the race.
And now he's starting to poke his nose a little bit left and right as he trying to get into the head of Bailey Turner. There's a perfect example of what Adam was just talking about. Up a lane higher. They're all riding the high line at this point, though. Looks like that is the place to be. Down into 1 and 2 once again. A little bit lower down in 1 and 2. The 24 just on that bottom seam. 16 laps to go, and it is becoming a nail biter up at the front, waiting for the moment. When do you make the move? How do you make the move? Do you know which side you go on? Or if you're Bailey Turner, how do you defend?
Well, Massey's been trying to go for a move, it seems, for these last couple laps. He's been getting unbelievably close to the back bumper of Turner, but he's got to remember what happened with Chad Klinger and Carwile. If you hit the rear bumper in the wrong way, if you get a little bit too close, if you mess up your precision, you're going to be turning Bailey Turner into the wall and probably destroying the other 5 cars in this pack. So he does have to be careful, but he also has to be aggressive. And so far, he's done well at doing both of those things. But once he actually has to go for the pass, I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to have to commit, because a last-second move usually results in 2 wrecked cars, especially in a style of racing like this. But I don't even think Ray Massey knows what he's going to try and do in these final laps. But he better start figuring it out, because he's only got about 14 laps to think about it.
Just weaving a little bit back down the back stretch. Checking the lap times comparison. And Lakatos 31.6 last time through, Turner 31.5, so mildly slower, but a 10th lap here obviously is going to add up quickly, so not looking like he will start the game. There's a good comparison on screen right now. Slightly faster Lakatos was on 114. That's not going to be enough every single other lap. You can see that plus sign. That means he is losing time.
And that's the difference between a 2 or a 3 car pack and a 5 car pack. That's why Casey Lakatos not able to do anything back there. Josh Banks washes up again. Oh, Mitch Welker's going to be scared, because Josh Banks is really interested in the bottom, but he's also really interested in washing up every time he goes down there.
Don't forget, this is actually a set of beer cans. We got a 6-pack up at the front, because they do have the lap car in there as well with the 8. And side by side, is this going to allow the 23 and the 24 to start fighting a little harder with a bit of a gap down to those behind them? Josh Banks drifts up a little bit, almost makes contact with the 16, and things getting a little bit more tense now.
Honestly, if I'm Mitch right now, I'm backing out of this. Josh Banks is playing with fire down there, and I do not want to end this in the wall. So I think 5th might be better, but he is holding tough. If Turner and Massey, they don't choose to go to the high line and drag him with them, so he's just stuck side by side with Banks. We see it again through 3 and 4. Banks a lot nicer that time. I think he's figured out where he's supposed to go, but he's not leaving the side of that 16, and these two are slowing each other down immensely and allowing those front 2 to just streak away.
10 to go at the line now. So the drivers are finding themselves under pressure to make something happen. Welker gets the shot off the turn, and that'll do it. The 36 is clear. Does he chop down? Not fully. There he goes, just to keep him from slowing them even more. They're coming up to Zach Halpern. He's been on the radio asking where they want him. I think he's going to stay to the high side, it looks like.
So nothing changed in that whole kerfluffle with Welker and Banks. They finally got back into third and fourth position. And speaking of that sixth car, he might play a role, Joseph Causey. He's done well to stay out of the way. But I'm amazed how fast that car is rolling. It hit the wall head on at full speed, and it's still hanging with these top six. So he might be a little bit of help with Chad Klinger if he can get up there with him and maybe tandem with him.
Cockrell just slowed his car on the apron at the backstretch and towed, and I'm not entirely sure why, unless he blew the engine. Trejo still can overtake him here with 8 laps left to go.
I don't know. I think he was just trying to get out of the way, and then he just kind of gave up. But like you said, Trejo's still out there, so that fight for 13th for that one crucial point, it's on.
7 laps to go now. With these tires, the state that they're in, with the drivers struggling a little bit now, so marginal through these corners. Does Ray Massey have enough to actually try and get by Turner, or is it too single file at this stage of the racing? Here comes the 16 of Welker. Little bit of a weave to the inside from Bailey Turner to try and defend, just to keep the 23 from trying anything sneaky.
The 23 needs Mitch Welker. Oh, Josh Banks.
And he's gonna maybe be able to hold it. Yes, he does, but he's slotted back to 5th because of that one, so he's out of the running.
Klinger finally got the bumper to him, and unfortunately Josh Banks, like you said, he's out of the running. 4 cars left. If Klinger's even part of it, he's almost lost these 3. He does have a helper in Causey and Halpern, so he might be able to move his way back into this 4-car battle, but right now there's 3 survivors left.
Yeah, this is where he wants those lap cars to get involved for once. Just hook up and say, let's go. I want to make this happen. Hopefully he's got some friends out there. 5 laps left, and your top 3 are Bailey Turner, Ray Massey, and Mitchell Welker. So far, it's been Bailey Turner dominating the latter half of this race. Nobody seems to have anything to try and get ahead of him and stay ahead of him. Across the line once again, still not seeing moves from Ray Massey. What's he doing? What's he thinking? Is there anything underneath him?
Adam Lindgren, you think he's got to sell him a fake here? You think that's the only way by? It's Mitchell Welker to the Mitch Welker to the inside of him now. So these two might slow each other down too much doing this. And Bailey Turner's going to be laughing and rubbing his hands together because he's going to streak away now if these two stick side by side for too long.
Yeah, these two guys have got to sort this out very quickly. I think Massey actually might need to give Welker this position. Otherwise, they're going to lose touch with Turner. We're down to 3 to go, and these guys are still side by side. They've lost half a second to him at this point.
And Halpern is watching this from behind as Klinger starts to close up. There goes the 16, starting to fall back now. The 09 hooking up with the 23 is exactly what he needed. He's starting to pick up the pace again. If those two can, now it's up to these two to get single file. 2 to go. They have got to move now. If they don't do it, I think on this lap, they're not going to catch him by the last one.
Massey, luckily, he has caught the draft, so they didn't lose the draft. If they lost it, they would have been done for, I think. But Massey's still in the tow. You can see Bailey Turner knows that. He's Simon Paganoing it down the back straight. And they're all joined up again, so what are they going to do on the white flag here? I have no idea. Ray Massey, he doesn't want to put the bumper to him, but that might happen.
4 drivers with a shot at the win on the final lap now. Alliances go out the window. It is every man for himself. And though the 23 has caught the 24, his only shot is managing to get around the outside of 3 and 4. As they come up to this last corner, he's got some speed. He's going to look low, though, and he's going to get his nose in. Can he get completely past? Can he make it stick? They're going to bang doors once again, and the 24's in the wall. They're going to wreck, and across the line, who even has it? It is the 24. Turner somehow takes the win in the most messy finish I have seen in some time, but my goodness, it came down to the very last few feet on this one.
iRacing top 10 on speed dial. I had no idea who was going to win that until the final second. Mitch Welker tried to send it through the middle of them, too. He was desperate. Everybody was desperate. Everybody spun around 360 degrees, and somehow Bailey Turner was the one who was pointing straight towards the line. And that's an incredible finish. That's one for the history books.
And poor Chad Klinger, he could have had a clear shot, but he unfortunately picked the wrong way through and plowed into the incident himself. Otherwise, he could have stole that win from all three of them from fourth place. Woo, okay, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Looks like we're going to get the whole top four, though.
Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway. This was an interesting race, to say the least, with some flat-out racing through much of the stint. This has allowed drivers to stay close. It came down to 4 of them at the very end, but it was Bailey Turner who took the victory overall. As we look at the results, he was followed by Ray Massey by about half a second, but honestly, they were spinning and wrecking across the line. Klinger still managed third to round out the podium, and poor Mitch Welker slid across the grass and just had to settle for P4. It was Josh Banks who finished 5th, and Lakatos was P6, as Ben Laughter was 7th, and it was Matthew Close in P8, Hodgson last one on the lead lap in 9th, and Halpern finishing 10th. And then, as you can see, Joseph Causey finishing in 11th with Michael Hurley P12. From there on down, it wasn't completely DNFs. Trejo did pass Cockrell in the end. He was 13th. Cockrell didn't see the checkered flag, but he did go very close towards the end of this race. And then, of course, it was all DNFs, and the 21-car field only seen about 14 of them getting to those last few laps, unfortunately. And up at the front of it, Bailey Turner becomes our 6th different winner. And as we pull him in, Bailey leading a good chunk of this race, but it certainly didn't seem certain coming out of the final turn. Bailey coming off of there down into 3 and 4. You saw Massey get to your inside. What was going through your head at the time?
I was honestly hoping they were going to stay side by side there for another, half a lap or so. I felt like I had built up enough of a gap, and I was just playing the aero game every time he got close to me. All you had to do was just mirror drive, and I think the entire last 75 laps, I was looking out my mirror more than I was looking forward. But I wanted to give him the inside. I was hoping he would race me clean. Figured if I gave him the inside, I would still have the run on exit. And once he doored me, I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to lift. And I got clipped the wall on the exit and just never took my foot off the gas. And I'm just now seeing the replay of everybody else driving into it. So felt pretty confident with my performance all day there. I felt like if I had the lead, I knew how to control the air and just make sure that, if they did try to develop a run, I wasn't going to give up my right rear quarter panel. And it seemed like that was the way to go the entire race.
Certainly was. What did the car start to feel like at the end of those stints? Because we could tell that drivers were starting to lift a little bit, and there seemed to be some loose moments and some tight moments. But what was it like from inside the cockpit? What were you feeling?
Well, at the beginning of the run, you're pretty much with these cars, unfortunately, you're just flat out So just flat out for the entire beginning of the run. And then once they caught up to me, we're going a little bit faster with that draft, and the right front starts to push a little bit. I know everybody behind me was probably getting a little bit tight, just following in my wake. So that was what I was trying to do the entire time. Actually, towards the end of the run, my car started to get a little bit loose, but I think that was just because I was in clean air most of the race. But like I said, I just gave them all the dirty air I could, made sure they kept getting tight behind me and they couldn't build up a run, and it seemed to pay off.
Only a second race that you've run so far this season, a top 5 and a win. Obviously, you're a bit behind coming in this late in, but what are your goals for the remainder of the season, and how many will we see you around for?
That's a good question. Honestly, take it on a week, like I said last week, I take it on a week-by-week basis. If I'm going to be able to make it in on a Saturday night, and I haven't quite gotten comfortable with these next-gen cars. Luckily, it's right now at least for this track, it was just a drafting game, and who could get out front and then maintain that lead. So I'll play it by ear, week by week. I know that my only goal is to do exactly what I came in here today and did, and that's just show up and try to get a win. I was dealing with computer issues all the way up until 15 minutes before the race, so I think I got like 12 laps of practice in. So luckily, It was enough to get the job done.
Wow, that makes it all the more impressive. Again, congratulations on a tumultuous win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out for this victory?
Yeah, just give a shout out to my teammates, everybody on. We call our team part-time boys because we're only showing up about half the time anyway. So those guys, and then obviously you guys with the broadcast, and Brian and everybody that takes care of everything with the admin stuff in the league. I know it's a lot of work, and we definitely appreciate having some fun here on a Saturday night.
That was your winner, Bailey Turner, in the number 24 machine. And up next, I believe Joey Tebben has caught up with Ray Massey, who just barely came across the line half a second back.
Well, Ray Massey, when you were facing backwards, you saw Bailey Turner in the wrong direction, looking in the other direction of the track. What was going through your mind, and is it suitable for broadcasting?
Yeah, it's suitable. I wasn't going to lift, and he was holding me down, and I've got the green number. I was wanting that dash for cash money, and that was my only shot, was to get to his inside and give it all I had. We made it fun. It was a crash fest to the finish line, but I guess I'll take second and get a green number the next week and do it again.
Yeah, we saw you struggling to get by. Everybody was struggling to get by Bailey, and for seemingly 80 laps, you were just biding your time back there. Was that your strategy the whole way in? You thought you had to save it for the last lap?
No, I was trying to get by him any chance I could. It's just the runs developed at the wrong spot, and he just knew to, give me dirty air on entry, and my nose would slide, and that would be it. So I had a decent run at one point and thought about slide jobbing him, but I didn't have enough of a run to clear him, and that would have been ugly. So at that point, I was going to wait on the last lap and see which lane he gave me and go from there.
Well, if I know the rules correctly, I believe you have to have a green number on your car to win the Dash for Cash. So Bailey was in the Dash for Cash, but he didn't have a green number on his car. So I don't know how that's going to work out. You'll have to talk with the admin. So you might be the winner on a technicality, but we'll see. Next week is Bristol. It's very different from this track. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, I love Bristol. That's literally my home track. I live like 20 minutes away. So yeah, the virtual version, I love it too. So we'll see if we can get it there.
And we look forward to seeing you at your Bristol stomping grounds. Do you have anyone you want to thank before we kick you out of here?
Yeah, my dad, he does pit strategy for me. He's my crew chief. So thank him for helping me through it. And Clark Print Shop, that's my brother-in-law's small business. Give him a shout out if you need any desktop publishing, wedding invitations, graduation announcements, you name it, he'll print it up for you. And thank you guys for broadcasting every week, and Brian and the admins for giving us a league to have a lot of fun in.
And thank you for putting on the greatest finish of the season in probably most leagues we've broadcasted over the course of this year. So congrats on second place. We'll see you next week. And we got third place. He's third place in the race, but he's still your championship leader by my calculations. Chad Klinger is with Joe.
Indeed. And Chad, we've been asking everybody about their perspective on it. Yours is a little bit different because you could actually kind of see it unfolding in front of you. Did you just run out of time to react? What happened that got you caught up in it?
Well, I saw Bailey. He was up in basically the marbles. He hit the wall. He came down. Welker was inside the both, or basically mid, both of them. They just collided. I could see them coming up track, so I made my decision to go down, but I was on the brakes and I couldn't turn it very well, so I couldn't get down there fast enough, and I got piled up into it.
So just missing out, unfortunately, by a few tenths to become the first double winner so far this season. But you're getting mighty close, and I believe you'll continue to lead the championship after this. So as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, do you still have pretty good feeling about this season?
I do. I've been running really well all races so far. I know we have a lot of short tracks coming up, or shorter tracks, which is the 750 package, which I personally like more than what this package is. So that's going to be fun, and hopefully I can keep it up front.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming and talking to us with this third place and being able to spray the champagne. Is there anybody you want to thank that helped get you there?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for broadcasting it, ORL for hosting it, my parents and my friends who support me with it.
Great stuff there for Chad Klinger, our third place finisher, coming up from 7th on the grid. And one last one, we've got Mitchell Welker, who missed out on the podium, not by a whole lot himself, unfortunately taking to the grass as Joey is talking to the 16 car.
Nice, calm finish, right?
Yeah, that's about par for the course for modern NASCAR, isn't it now?
Well, this was your first finish of the season. I looked through the SimRacer Hub stats. This was your first finish, and you did it backwards. So when you were in the grass down there, do you think you had a shot? Did you think you couldn't see the drivers up there and you were good?
Well, it kind of harkened back to when I won the Fuel Daytona 250 by going through the grass in almost the exact same fashion, like bouncing off two other cars through the grass. I just mashed the pedal. I thought I could make it work, but I wasn't as lucky this time.
Well, you certainly tried your best, and it looked like that was the only way by. You were stuck in that train. You were battling with Josh Banks for a while. Did you think you had basically any other shot other than hoping for calamity at the end?
I don't think so. I tried to get up to the back of Mr. Massey there and push him around, and he just kept getting held up by the 24 in the critical places, and things just never really fell into place for a good move. So as soon as he started moving the 24 up the track, that was really the only chance I had, was just go up the middle, and didn't really work out.
And our own Jake Sperry called you to victory in a little race earlier this afternoon. Do you want to tell people what that was?
Yeah, I won the top split iRacing Grand Prix Series race at Circuit of the Americas. Home win, favorite track, the hardest fought race I've ever won. My favorite win now. Very happy with that one.
And did any of that apply to the next gen right here?
Not really.
That's the answer I expected. Now, next week, Bristol. How do you feel about Bristol? How do you feel about this grid of drivers at Bristol? Do you think you'll survive?
I like Bristol. Looking at Martinsville, I don't know if I could trust anyone else at Bristol. Looking at this car, I don't know if Bristol will be fun with this car, but I'll give it a shot.
Tempers may flare. Hopefully they don't. Do you have anyone you want to thank before we kick you out of here?
I guess Mike and Evan for hanging out. I ain't got no friends out there besides them. So,
well, this is your first GSRC interview, so you don't have that Google Docs script ready with all your sponsors.
I don't. Maybe thank Coke Cherry. Tastes good.
Well, next week. There's always a next week, and you do have Project 2 on your car, so you'll thank every member of the team next week, right?
Well, they aren't running with me for the series, so yes, I do like Project 2, and I do own Project 2, but that's not affiliated with this, so technically I don't have to.
That is very true. Contractual obligations non-existent for Mitchell Welker, and none of his teammates posied up to race in this series. One of them stuck in the commentary box. One of them never signed up. But anyway, we'll kick Mitch Welker out of here. Good on him for actually finishing a race for once. Hopefully he doesn't die at Bristol next week. And Joe, I think we've talked ourselves away here with an incredible finish.
Indeed. And I just want to say, Cherry Coke's my favorite. So if he can get me some free ones, I don't know if there's any sort of connections there. In the meantime, we're going to close out and give a big thank you to the Outsider Racing League for bringing us on for the coverage this season. It's certainly been a lot of fun from up here in the booth. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And also thanks to the team today, Joey, Zach, and Dougie. And a special thank you to Adam Lindgren, our pit reporter down on the lane. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed here on the screen. And check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And as was mentioned, Bristol is up next, Saturday, October 30th at 9:50 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.